Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Well, the electric revolution continues. You know, I find reading the comments, half the people love the electric and the green stuff, the other half hate it and they want supercars. Well, we try to show all forms of transportation on this website, and the electric vehicle is pretty much here to stay, it seems like. You know, we've done the Volt and we've done the Think, and there's a whole number of electrical vehicles and new ones coming on the market every day. This is the, so you're all familiar with a smart car. Normally it has a 3-cylinder engine in it. It's a gas-powered car. This is the Smart Electric. This is brand new. There are only 250 of them in the country right now. Let's meet Rick Bogois. He's the Director of Communications for Smart?
Yes.
Okay,
Smart
very
USA.
good. And again, this one is all electric, not a hybrid, correct?
Right. This is a full electric vehicle powered by a 16.5 kilowatt lithium-ion battery.
How many volts do you know? What would that be?
That's a good question on that. I know it can produce up to 30 kilowatts of energy.
You know, that's a whole nother standard we have to go through, because if you're a car guy, you understand foot-pounds of torque, and you understand horsepower. But kilowatts, and I tend to go in voltage. For example, my old 1909 Baker Electric is 78 volts, and I know exactly how many batteries, there are 6-volt batteries, how many of them there are. This lithium-ion thing, where is the battery? In the rear?
It's in the back. So what you have with the Smart is you have the exact same footprint, size, dimensions, and design as our standard gasoline vehicle.
Okay.
So all they had to do was remove the gas tank, put in the battery pack, remove the gasoline engine, put in an electric motor, and you've converted it from gasoline to electric.
And this is a single speed, obviously.
Yep, single gear ratio. And so we've got the engine is actually back here underneath in the exact same place that you would find the gasoline engine in our gasoline vehicle.
See, one thing about electric cars, you go to Bob's Big Boy or any of these hot rod places and you open the hood to show them the mill, it's not going to be real exciting. It's just a big bunch of wires and an electric motor. But like all electrics now, this is a single speed.
That's right.
And it's lithium ion. What does the car weigh, do you know?
It's only about 300 pounds more than a standard Smart. So
okay, so if you're dating a really fat girl, it's like driving around with her. All right, I mean, it's the same thing. Or a fat guy, whatever. It's like bringing a chubby friend with you, really, that's what it is.
Where you would normally fill up the gas tank is where we have the connector for the charging.
Okay, now the nice thing about electric is they all use a standardized plug. If you've been to this website before, you probably saw the electric charging station that we put in for my Chevy Volt. Here it is. Well, that same charging station can be used for this. So the nice thing is all these electric cars now use this one plug. So it's one of these things where you have to get adapters and connectors. So that's pretty good.
Yeah,
so,
it's a standard 1772 connector.
And does that have drum brakes?
It does.
Ooh.
It's got a regenerative braking system.
Oh, I see.
That puts power back into the motor. So anytime you decelerate, let your foot off the gas, it will generate power as well as the braking.
Okay, so you obviously have discs in the front and the regen within the drums in the back. Okay.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, let's see what else we got. I mean, this is a little tiny car. You know, any car that can hide behind my rear end, that's a small car. And my rear end is actually pretty good size. But so you can charge it at 110 or 240, but 110 is really not very practical, is it?
No, you can charge it on a 110.
But it's all day.
Essentially, if you look at the charging in terms of just like with your gas tank, you're never going to run all the way down to zero in your gas tank. We think most consumers are going to let the charge run down to about 20%.
Yeah.
Probably take you on a 110 roughly about 8 hours.
8 hours easy.
Yeah, you have that for a 240.
But I always tell people, if you're going to buy an electric vehicle, go all the way and get the 240 adapter. Because 240, as we said before, all it means is it's the same plug for your washer dryer or the same plug for a refrigerator. It's not complicated. An electrician can put it in about 90 minutes, an hour to 90 minutes. And this way, you half the charging time.
That's right.
Easy.
On a 240, you can go from a 20% state of charge to an 80% in about 3.5 to 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, this is a vehicle, you know, as I said, I've been driving the Chevy Volt, and I'm impressed with that because it's gas and electric. This is pure electric, so you have to have another car. This would be your second car to run errands or go to class every day. If you know you're going 25 miles each way, and you're not going any further than that, this is probably perfect for that.
It's a good commuter car for,
Yeah.
for urban environments, and from the data we've seen, most consumers really only drive about 20 miles each way to work,
Yeah.
40, maybe 40 miles round trip on average.
Yeah,
So
you got a 16-year-old girl who's head of the cheerleading squad, perfect. Got a 16-year-old boy who's a quarterback, you're going to have some problems. But you know, they're small and they're cute, and in some ways I like it better than the standard Smart because it's fully automatic. I know a lot of people don't like shifting the standard Smart. I like to shift, it doesn't bother me. But this one, you just get in, you step on the gas, and you go, essentially. And it has, obviously, air conditioning and heating and all that.
yeah, it's got the full electric components, it's got a radio, it's got everything on the interior that you would find with our standard gasoline vehicle.
And what is the wheelbase in this thing about?
The whole vehicle itself is 8.8 feet long.
8.8 feet long. Okay,
Right.
pretty much, pretty tiny. One thing about these vehicles, people think, oh my God, what if you get hit by an SUV or something of this nature? This safety cell here is the exact same type of safety cell you'd have in a Mercedes-Benz or any other car. What it doesn't have is the crumple zone up here and the crumple zone in the back. But the idea that if you got hit in a Mercedes, you got hit in this part is all the same. You know, all these cars have to pass U.S. safety legislation. In the old days, cars would roll over and the roofs would crush and people would be killed. This car is as strong here as any Mercedes-Benz, I would think, or any other car like that. What you don't have is the big overhang here and the big overhang in the front. And what I always tell people, whether it's a motorcycle or a car like this, people think, what if you get hit? Yeah, but think of how much shorter you are. How many times have you been hit right here? You know, well, you don't have that part hanging out. So you save a little, you have a little more of a safety zone there, but that's just me. It's a nice looking car, as you can see. It's got the electric plug here.
Yep.
And
then on the inside, if we want to take a look in there, you've got the two gauges in the dashboard there, and that really replaces what you would normally think of as your fuel gauge.
Right, right.
So your fuel
charge.
gauge is now replaced with your state of charge. So
State
that
of
would be
charge.
the dial on the left, and then the dial on the right shows you in real time either the battery output or how much power you're taking out of the battery and how much you're putting back in.
Right, right.
So there's a needle that'll go back and forth as you're taking power out and regenerating power back in.
And like the regular smart car, there's plenty of room inside. If you were in this car, you wouldn't feel you were cramped. There's plenty of leg room.
We call it small on the outside, big on the inside. It has
Yeah.
almost as much interior room as a mid-size sedan.
You know, if you're a guy who collects airbags, this is a pretty good deal. How many airbags in this one?
For the 2011 model year, we've doubled the number of airbags in the coupe. We've gone from 4 airbags to 8 airbags.
8 airbags.
8
Okay,
airbags.
well,
So
there you
we've
go.
added knee bolster airbags for both driver and passenger, as well as side curtain airbags for both driver and passenger.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And this looks like, this is like a carbon fiber type?
Yep, that's what we call our solid roof.
Okay, I see.
Typically in our cars we have a panoramic roof.
Right, right.
But because to keep the heat level down and not have to use so much energy with conditioning the car,
Yeah.
we have a solid roof on this.
Oh, very good.
And I
Okay.
should also mention that we also have preconditioning of the vehicle cabin. So when the vehicle is plugged into the outlet, there is a button on the key fob which allows you to precondition the cabin to an ideal temperature.
Oh, I
so
see. Okay.
on either a really cold day or a really warm day, you can either heat or cool the cabin using the power from your
I
electrical
see.
outlet versus
Right.
the
So
power
when you
from
get in the
battery.
car, you're not down 20% because you've used it all.
That's
to heat the car.
exactly
Okay,
it.
Very cool.
So the car's already a comfortable temperature when you get in.
I would
to go.
think one day a solar panel would go here. That's probably somewhere in the works, but it's not big enough to really generate much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's technology to look for toward the future.
Right, right. Okay, well, let's take it for a ride, see what it does. I'm curious to see how well the regen works. You know, it's Mercedes-Benz technology. This one uses the Tesla battery pack, and Tesla has a pretty good reputation. Pretty good pickup. Right now my battery's at 100%. You know, driving an electric car is a little like driving one of my Stanley steam cars, where you want to try to conserve as much steam as you can. You know, when you come to a traffic light or a place where you can coast rather than jump on the brakes, with an electric car like this, you want to take your foot off the gas so you can put electricity back into the batteries again through your regen process. I got my foot to the floor. I'm using maximum battery now. I notice with the heater off and the blower motor off, I get a lot more regen. When you have the heater on, don't forget there's no engine to make hot water to heat the car. So So you're heating it through an electric element. And heat, of course, requires a lot of amperage. So you're probably drawing quite a bit of electricity when you run that heater. And when I get off the pedal, you'll see we're putting it back in. Now watch, I'll do the same thing with the heater on. With the blower motor on, there you go. Pulling maximum power now. And on regen, okay, I'm about a third. So that's why in a cold climate, your range is going to be decreased quite a bit. Acceleration's not bad. I have got it flat out now, and I am at just 60 miles an hour. There you go. You're not going to get much more than that. If you drive it conservatively, I imagine you could do pretty good on the battery. See, if a guy who gets a lot of speeding tickets, this is perfect. You'll never get a speeding ticket. But nice and quiet inside, very Mercedes-Benz-like. I would say I'm getting twice the regen with the heater and the blower motor off. I think electric cars are great if you're in California or Florida. I'm not quite sure what your range would be or how much electricity you'd be using in, let's say, Michigan or Canada, because obviously you're going to be running the heater all the time when you live there. But let's take it out on the freeway and see how she goes. Top speed seems to be about 65 miles an hour. I mean, this would be okay on the freeway for a short run of maybe 5 or 6 miles, but I think you deplete this battery pretty quickly. It's hard to see the advantage over the gas smart. Well, here's something kind of interesting. I only went 4 miles, admittedly driving quite aggressively. I had my foot to the floor all the time, and I've used 10% of the power, which we're about 93% from 100. The most disturbing thing is the top speed is just about 65 miles an hour. I mean, that is the speed limit, but there are times when you need to either avoid an accident or accelerate out of the way or pull onto an on-ramp where you're going to need that little extra bit of power. But like I say, I commute 22 miles every day. I could use this every day. I use the Chevy Volt every day, and that I've never put any gasoline in that because I don't go over the 35, 40 miles. And obviously this has a range much greater than that, probably 60 to 70. So is electric for you? Well, you got to be the judge of that. So like I say, we like to show you the technology when it comes out, and that's what this website is for. Sometimes it's antique, sometimes it's big blocks, sometimes it's muscle cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and sometimes good old-fashioned electricity. See you next week.